Hello, welcome to Telesur. I'm Carla Gonzalez. This is Interviews from Quito, the program where we explore the big challenges facing this country and the region. In today's program, we discuss the 2020 Global Forum on Migration and Development, which takes place in Quito, Ecuador. It's a meeting attended by governments, civil society, and NGOs from all over the world to discuss migrant flows. And this year, the Venezuelan migration has been the main topic. For that, we have Alexander Yanez, Vice Minister for Multilateral Issues of Venezuela, who is part of the forum. So let's take a look at a video on this topic first.
The 12th Global Forum on Migration and Development took place in Ecuador on January 21st. The objective of this event is to look for answers to migration problems, especially to the Venezuelan exodus, in a national, regional, and international level. Ecuador was expected to propose ideas to achieve a safer, more ordered, and regular migration flow. Around 1,500 representatives from 150 countries participated in this forum. According to data from Ecuador's government, more than 365,000 Venezuelan citizens entered the country in between 2014 and 2019. Follow our analysis.
Thank you for joining us, Minister Yanez. So first, tell us about the importance of having this global forum on migration and development.
Bueno, muy bien, muchas gracias, Carla,
thank you
por la
very much,
invitación.
Carla, for your
El Foro
invitation.
Global sobre
The World
Migración y
Forum
Desarrollo
of Migration and
es una evidencia de que el tema de las
is
migraciones
a need because
está
migration
transformándose en un tema de
is
agenda
transforming itself into an
mundial.
agenda, world agenda.
Es importante decir que las
It is important
migraciones
to
son
say that
un proceso que
migration
tiene
is
una
a
tendencia
process that has a
creciente a nivel
process
mundial, de tal
of
manera
increasing
que
worldwide.
cualquier
So
proceso o coyuntura
any
migratoria que en este
process
momento hay
that
en el mundo es parte
is
de
happening
esa
right now in the
tendencia.
world is part of this
Es
tendency.
fundamental la
It's
participación
fundamental, the
de todos los países
participation of
miembros de
all
las
the
Naciones
member
Unidas
countries of United Nations
tratar de discernir a lo largo de discusiones
and trying to
algunas
decipher
normas generales
some
para
some
tratar el
international
tema de las
rules to
migraciones.
have
Venezuela ha dicho
how to
en
treat
este
migration.
foro que las
Venezuela
migraciones
has
no es un
said that
asunto
migration is not
pragmático, sino
an
que es un
affair of
asunto
something
humano, y
practical,
como
but
tal
it's
debe
a
ser
human affair.
atendido. Hemos
So
dicho
that's how
también
it should
que
be
es muy importante
dealt with.
defender
We
y
have said that it's
proteger
also
la
important to
institución de la
defend
migración.
the
La
institution of
hemos
migration.
observado ha sido,
Migration,
o ha habido una tendencia para politizarla
there has
con
been a
propósitos
tendency to
muy claros, muy
make migration a
específicos.
political
Y,
topic.
nosotros como
And
países
we,
miembros de las
as
Naciones Unidas,
member
tenemos que
countries of
propender
United
a tratar
Nations,
este
should
tema
try to
de la
see
manera más objetiva, la manera más
this
científica,
topic as an objective
posible,
and
en
scientific way
función de atender
in terms
a
of
las
trying to
personas que
help
son
the
finalmente
people who
los
are,
afectados.
those who are affected.
So tell us, how does the figures of the migrants are being handled in forums like this, where we have people from all over the world talking about how many people, how many Venezuelan migrants are reaching their countries?
Sí, el tema de la cifra es
The
una evidencia
numbers
de lo que hemos
Is part
tratado de
of
presentar
what
como
we try to present
política equivocada
as a wrong
en
policy
relación a las migraciones.
in
Es
terms
decir,
of
tratar la
migration,
migración desde el punto de vista
to deal
pragmático, porque
migration as a practical topic.
entonces la
Because
forma
if
como
so,
se
the
visualiza
way to
atender la coyuntura
visualize
migratoria es con la
migration
recaudación
is
de
by
fondos que dan
gathering
donantes,
money from donors,
gubernamentales o no gubernamentales.
both from
Se ha
governments or
utilizado
non-governmental.
frecuentemente la idea o la
Frequently,
tesis de que
there
hay
has
que
been
motivar a los donantes
there has been this
y para
thesis that
motivar a
it's
los
necessarily
donantes
to
comienzan a
motivate
lanzarse
the
cifras
donors,
que
and
en
that's
muchos
why
casos no
you
tienen
just
base
send numbers
científica,
out to the air
base
that are
jurídica,
not
o las
they're not
metodologías
based
que
on
se han
real
utilizado
numbers,
son
and the methodologies
absolutamente inadecuadas.
are totally
En el caso de
inadequate.
la migración
In
venezolana,
the
hemos
case of the
solicitado
Venezuelan
a través de
migration,
la
we have
Cancillería a
asked
los
through our
países de
Foreign
acogida
Affairs
de
Minister
los migrantes venezolanos,
to,
más de 100
to
comunicaciones le hemos
requesting the
pedido que nos
countries that
envíen
have
las cifras
received
y en buena
our
medida
migrants
estas
to give us our
comunicaciones no han
numbers.
sido respondidas,
But
pero
these
las
have not
cifras sí
been
son dadas a
answered.
los medios de
But of course, the
comunicación.
numbers
De tal
are
manera que
are
es
sent
una
to the
evidencia
news
que
media.
el uso de
So
cifras
it's clear that
sobredimensionadas
the
para
numbers that
destacar una
are
coyuntura migratoria
bigger
particular
than they
tiene un
really
propósito
are
no solo
has
político,
a
sino
political
económico,
purpose
que es
and an
obtener
economical
recursos
purpose, which is to
para
obtain
poder
funds
atender algunos asuntos internos de estos países que
to,
muchas
to
veces no
use this
necesariamente
money
están
for internal
vinculados a la
affairs
migración.
that not
Nosotros
necessarily
acabamos
have
de
to
ver
do with
ahora
migration.
en Colombia
We have
cómo
just
acaban
seen in
de
Colombia
destituir
how
al director
they
de
just
migración
they
porque
just
desvió
fired
los
the
fondos
the
dados por
chief
la
of
cooperación
migration because
internacional
he
para
used
atender la
the
migración
funds for
venezolana
migration for
a
other
otros
things.
propósitos.
He sent it
Así
to other
como hacen
purposes.
eso,
Just like this is
desvirtúan
done,
las cifras,
the
porque la
numbers are
medida,
also
repito, que se
changed because the
magnifique el
majority
problema
Because if the numbers are blown up, there are more resources. We are not saying with this that there is no Venezuelan migration. Yes, it does exist. What we're just saying is that it's overblown with concrete purposes, which is to obtain funds and to give some validation that will politically hinder the policies of Mr. Maduro, that they're leaving, the people are fleeing the country for political reasons. I must say that the Venezuelan migration is fundamentally economic. And it's economic because on behalf of the U.S. government, there is an enforcement of unilateral blockade that has damaged the national economy. This is going on for 10 years already. It was first published in 2015, but it happened before. It started way before. So this is said by the special envoy for coercive measures, and in the 2019 report, it says that the U.S. government has enforced these measures for over a decade. This doesn't allow our people to be able to pay for a lab so we can get important vaccines. And when our government wants to pay him, it's impossible to do so because there's a blockade. And the laboratories that sell these vaccines are also threatened to sell them to Venezuela. So what happens on the other side is that this is, according to the media, this is the responsibility of Venezuela, of the government, but it's really not.
And it's also interesting to analyze the double standards that were managed in the figures of the migrants reaching several countries in the region, especially Colombia. We see a lot of migrants from Colombia, but the issues doesn't seem to be important for media, but the Venezuelan migrants are. What do you see this being explained to media, to people?
Well, one of the points that we have made in the World Forum is the need that these topics be of equal importance. We think that this global forum that is held in Quito was not about global migration policies, but about a specific case, which is the Venezuelan. We would have liked to listen about how the kids are caged on the U.S. border, the separation of Central American families in the United States, or speak about the 5,000 dead people in the Mediterranean Sea, or the mistreatment of Africans in Europe, or the 5 million Colombians that migrated to Colombia. These topics have not been dealt with during this forum, which makes it even clear that there is an intention for this forum. There is a double standard on this topic. We have asked the forum that there must be coherency between what we sign in this global pact of migration with the specific measures that are implemented by governments. The agreement says that it must be sure, it must be regulated, but later with the way they implement these measures, it is obvious that there's a criminalization of the migration, and there's an inadequate treatment that causes unsafe migrations. A simple example is how some South American countries have issued the acceptance of have accepted the use of already of passports that are no longer valid. This makes it even more insecure, because a person who does not have a valid passport and tries to leave Venezuela, they cannot leave. They cannot leave the country with a non-valid passport. So what they do is they leave through other illegal paths. And now they're an irregular migrant because they're not in our numbers. And now
then
they are captured by criminal trafficking, and those persons who leave in this condition are now an insecure migrant, and there is no way to register this person leaving the country. So this has an influence on the numbers. Nobody speaks about it, but it's important. And we have called it out on the need to be objective and scientific on this topic.
Now, also, the government of Venezuela, since it can't control the blockade from the United States and all the economic issues that are affecting people that are leaving the country, what is it doing to prevent more people from leaving or helping the people that need most help?
Well,
the first thing that we must say is the social protection system of the Bolivarian government that has been developed over the past 20 years is based
por el orden del 75% de todo
on 75% of the global budget. So there is a legal disposition that aims at helping the social, everything that has to be in the social realm, health, education. All of these systems have been affected by the U.S. blockade. The capacity to obtain resources, to put supplies in hospitals, medicines, equipments, has been hindered. Nevertheless, the government has maintained the thesis that the 75% of the budget that will be dedicated to the social areas. There have been programs of CLAP, which is the food distribution. This reaches every family in Venezuela, and it has a coverage
dateada por incluso organizaciones de las Naciones Unidas de más del 97%
of 97% in the national territory.
Y esto es una evidencia del trabajo que se hace para
This is an evidence of what we're doing to try to mitigate the effects of the blockade. Another thing we do is general information to the people. We have seen testimonies of Venezuelans who are coming back, and that it makes the rest of the people see what the reality is of these migrants when they go to other countries. Because there was a lot of propaganda that tried to show that the conditions were good for everybody who wanted to leave, and the reality has proven that is not so. It's been to a point that a president has created a plan that's called Back to Our Homeland, and it's a way to help those Venezuelans who want to come back.
And explain to us a little bit more about this return to the homeland plan and how does it work, and especially how the media portrayed it, because we haven't seen many reports about people returning to Venezuela. We see reports all the time of people trying to enter, specifically Ecuador, but not of Venezuelans going back. Why is it not reflected on media?
Well, the plan Return to the Homeland is designed by the government of President Maduro as a response to the need of thousands of Venezuelans that have gone to our offices and to our embassies or consulates around the world, particularly in Latin America, asking to go back to their country and that their condition doesn't allow them to. So, with the Venezuelan Airlines, they developed a plan to bring all of these Venezuelans back. Up until now, 16,000 Venezuelans have been brought back, and we have a waiting list of over 50,000. This list grows every day. That is a consequence of the hard situations that the Venezuelans have found abroad. It is not financed with United Nations resources. This is money of the Venezuelan country, regardless of the blockade that we have. We have interviewed those who are going back to the homeland, and the majority have said
le hemos consultado por qué
we
razón
have
se
asked
fue de
them, we
Venezuela.
asked them, why did you leave Venezuela?
Ese número
And that number,
99,93% respondió que por razones económicas.
93% has said
las
that they
medidas
left
coercitivas
for economic
unilaterales han
measures.
sido,
So this
la causa
blockade
central
has
de la
been
distorsión de nuestra economía y la
has
afectación
caused
de la vida
that people
social,
leave
económica
our
y laboral
country.
de los venezolanos, y por eso efectivamente han migrado. El día de
And
mañana o pasado
tomorrow,
mañana está saliendo un vuelo
there
vuelta
is
a la
a
patria de
new-
Chile a
There's a
Venezuela.
new
Es un
flight
plan que
back to
sigue
Venezuela.
en proceso.
This
Y
is an
resulta y
ongoing
pasan cosas
process,
interesantes
and
como la
interesting
siguiente. Algunos países
interesting things happen, like
que hablan vehementemente sobre el volumen
those
de la
countries
migración
who speak
venezolana.
of
Cuando
how
les
there's
planteamos,
many people that come
enviar
from
el plan Vuelta a la
Venezuela. When
Patria
we
para
say them,
repatriar
when we tell them,
venezolanos,
okay,
comienzan a poner restricciones.
let
Niegan
open
el
the door
permiso
so we
sobre
can
vuelo,
bring back this plan of
tratan de
bringing
cobrar
Venezuelans
impuestos
back. They say no,
sobredimensionados,
we're not going to do it, and
afectan
what they
la
try to
provisión
do
de
is
combustible
pay
del avión. Entonces, uno
pay
ve
taxes,
el doble
and
discurso,
so we see that there's a
de
double
un país
standard.
receptor que
On
dice
one
que la
hand,
migración colapsa
the
su
countries say
situación,
that
y cuando
the
el Estado
migration
venezolano
collapses their
le plantea una
situation,
solución
but
para
when the
retornar,
Venezuelan government
ponen
wants to
restricciones.
apply
¿Por qué?
a solution,
Porque
they don't
detrás de
want to,
todo
they
esto
put
hay un gran
restrictions.
negocio económico
Why?
y se
Because behind all
utiliza
of this,
de
there's a
manera,
business,
a la
because they're
migración
using
venezolana para esos propósitos.
the Venezuelan migration in an inhumane way.
So all of these topics were discussed in this global forum on migration and development. How do you see at the end, the last days of this forum, how does it portray migration, and is it finding solutions, or not just solutions, but ways to handle migration in a more humane way?
Sí, la situación
Well,
central es que
the central situation that we spoke about in the forum yesterday is that if the purpose of dealing with this topic is based on economic resources, then everything is distorted, any measures, because what's going to happen is that the numbers are going to be different, and they're going to be blown up so the countries can get more money. We have proposed humane migration, and this is how everything should be dealt with. Here, the role of each government is fundamental. The governments must have the control on the migratory process, the legal disposition of each country, to establish a general framework that would be humane and have solidarity, that would respect migration as a human right. So any person who wants to migrate from another country for any reasons will have their security, their personal situation guaranteed, as well as of their family. If we allow that organisms that should not be there, sometimes non-governmental organizations that are well financed by the U.S. government, then we start these processes are changed or distorted, because this passes by the fact that we can give you money, and then it goes into a different realm. There is no ethics. It does not recognize this human process of migration, and therefore it is just used for to get more money as a business tool. So we ask that we treat this in a bilateral mode between the countries, and multilaterally in the organizations that have been created
and for
this.
our last question, I also want to ask you if you see a way out of this way that migration has been handled. Do you see any other organizations that could do a better job in analyzing migration and making sure that most people understand how it works globally?
Sí, bueno, creemos que
we think
the
participation of the multilateral participation is fundamental to establish a framework where the international law is respected and we can deal with this problem. It's important to say that migration is an effect of a determined situation. This is a consequence of something that is happening. All of the decisions that are held, it's because of the migration itself. We think that we should go after the causes. When we see what happens in Syria and Libya, we see that the volumes
obedecen a la intervención militar
answer
por parte
to the
de
military
potencias
intervention
extranjeras.
on
Y
behalf
eso ha generado la salida
of powerful
forzada
countries,
de las
and this has
personas. En el
caused
caso
that people
venezolano,
flee.
las medidas coercitivas unilaterales
In
han
this case,
forzado la
the
salida de
unilateral
personas. Entonces, si nosotros
measures of the United States are the ones that are
buscar
causing this
mecanismos
migration.
para
So
atender
if
las
we could
causas,
find
entre ellos,
put a way to put the
poder,
end to the
limitar la
causes,
acción militar por parte de potencias extranjeras, promover la paz, promover el
to
desarrollo
promote
interno,
peace and
seguramente se reducirían los
internal
flujos migratorios,
development, we're
en
sure
el
that
mundo. El
the
caso
migration
africano,
would
por
stop.
ejemplo, la
Let's see the
extracción por
case
grandes
of
transnacionales
Africa.
de
This is,
recursos
it's a
naturales de esos
consequence
países,
of the
pero la
extraction of
imposibilidad de
the
los
natural
nacionales de esos
resources.
países de recibir los
But
beneficios
the
les obliga
impossibility to receive
a migrar. De tal manera que es un problema
migration
muy
is
complejo,
terrible. So this is a very
tiene
complex
naturaleza de desarrollo económico, y las
problem,
causas
and the
deben, en
causes
efecto, ser atendidas.
should
Ahora,
be dealt with.
¿qué otras organizaciones
What other
internacionales
organization
pudiesen atender este tema?
could
En
go
primer
after it?
lugar,
I
las
think
Naciones Unidas.
United
Hay un
Nations.
organismo que
This
se
is an
llama la
organism that
Organización
is called
Internacional
the
para las
International
Migraciones,
Organization
que
of
tiene
Migration that has
particular atención a estos asuntos.
that speaks
Por
about
supuesto,
this.
a nivel latinoamericano y caribeño existía la UNASUR, que tenía
UNASUR
una
can
línea
also
de
be
trabajo en materia de
that has a
migración
line
sobre la
determined
base de
for
la
this
ciudadanía suramericana.
based
Está
on
la CELAC en
the
proceso
Latin American
digamos, relanzamiento, que
citizenship.
puede ser un espacio latinoamericano
We
para
have
discutir estos temas.
the community of
Pero
Latin
es
American
importante
and
decir que
Caribbean
si no hay
states
voluntad
that it can
política,
also be
y
an
si hay
organism.
politización del tema,
But if there's
siempre va a ser difícil
if there is a
convencer.
political standpoint on this, it will always be hard.
Subject, but maybe a humane way and a more just way to see migration. Thank you very much, Minister Yanez, for your time.
Gracias a ustedes.
We've been talking to Alexander Yanez, Vice Minister for Multilateral Issues of Venezuela, on the 2020 Global Forum on Migration and Development in Quito, and the importance to create consensus and develop solutions to global migration. Thank you for watching Interviews from Quito. I'm Carla Gonzalez. Until next time.